Come in, come in. Oh, hi. Hi, nice to see you. You come on a very auspicious day. It's just coming to the end of Easter Day today, Easter Sunday evening. So you were asking if I might read some of my own poetry. So I thought perhaps I'll do that for Easter. It's a great day for me as a Christian believer and indeed a priest. I've been away in Cambridge actually doing a whole series of Easter services, but I'm back now. Anyway, right, let's see if I can, if you come over here. Nice thing, by the way, over there, there's the a chap, Canadian, Justin O'Brien's made this beautiful maple pipe rack for me, which I'm really delighted with. Anyway, up here, roughly speaking, are the books I've written or contributed to, although actually I never quite have them all there because I've got I've been off doing a reading or whatever, but this is the newest book that I've had anything to do with, and it's called Stations of the Resurrection, and it says, if you look, it says Guli Francis Dekhani, she's the Bishop of Chelmsford. She's a Persian, an Iranian Christian. They were exiled, and she then, having had childhood in Iran, grew up here, but she's now a bishop. And then there's me, and then there's this chap, Ian McKillop, who's an artist. And the Church of England produced this book as a way of thinking about, you've probably heard of the famous Stations of the Cross, for which I've written 15 poems. And that's walking with Jesus on Good Friday and thinking about every detail and what it means to us and how it demonstrates his love. But somebody said, well, what about the resurrection? What about Easter? What about that joy? What about that new life and, death being destroyed and the hope that we all have? Shouldn't there be some stations for that as well? And so somebody looked through the whole of the New Testament and found that there were 19 different passages that witness to Jesus rising again, and they thought it'd be great if we had a sequence of paintings and prose reflections and poems. So I got asked to write the poems. Some of the passages I'd already written for poems for about 4 of them, but there are 15 completely new ones. And so I thought I might just read you 1 or 2 of them. Oh, is this going to work? Oh, there we are. This Peterson, I think it's an Easter pipe. It's the nearest I can get to an egg shape. I bought it in the shop, the Peterson shop on Grafton Street. Anyway, why would one write sonnets about an event that took place 2,000 years ago? Would somebody not say, well, that was then and this is now? But I don't think so. I think the whole of God, the God who made you and me and everyone, was involved in this. And I think he was dealing with something that we all dread, with death itself, and he was overcoming it and showing us a new light. So I was very happy to write the poems. And I thought I'd just read you, I'll read you the very first one, which is a response to the story in Matthew's Gospel where they're so worried that the disciples are going to steal the body or something. They set a guard, and there's a big, great stone in the way. And then in Matthew tells us, this is amazing, there's an earthquake, and an angel comes down and rolls the stone away. And I just thought, that combination of heaven coming down and earth shaking was something that speaks to the polarity of all our lives, that we have this kind of heavenward longing, kindling of the infinite in our hearts, and yet we're all in aging, increasingly weary bodies. We're kind of pulled down to earth and yet exalted up to heaven. So to solve that problem, we have to have heaven come down to earth and deal with things here. And so this sonnet's called The Earthquake and the Angel. Each human life hangs taut between the powers of heaven and of earth. Our soaring hearts yearn heavenward, even as the weighted hours of gravity and time, heavy with hurts and griefs too great to number, pull us down and seal us at the last in one black tomb against whose heavy entrance rolls the stone. But from this day, that tomb becomes a womb. The earth is shaking with her labour pains. Our lifelight quickens with the coming dawn. To help us now, the powers of heaven come down. Time's tyrant prison guards have watched in vain. An angel midwife rolls away the stone, and from the tomb the kingdom is reborn. So there are lots of others. I'll maybe just read you one other. There's a really interesting reading where Paul, the apostle, talks about the sequence of the appearances. He talks about how Jesus appeared to Cephas, to Peter, and then to the 12. And then he says he appeared to 500 at one time. And it's almost like widening ripples. It's almost like this event is still unfolding, or it's still moving out. You know, there are more and more people who can tell you that in one way or another, Jesus is alive because they've had an encounter with him. Anyway, I'll just read you this one. Oh no, I found it. Here we are. Jesus appears to 500. So Paul in his letter says, I hand it on to you as of the first important, what I intend receive, that Christ died for our sins according to the Scriptures. He was buried, he was raised on the third day. He appeared to Cephas, then to the 12. Then he appeared to more than 500 brothers. So this is my take on this. 500 then, and since, so many more, in lonely prison cells and crowded streets, at brimming springs and at exhausted wells, on days of triumph and in dire defeats, the risen Lord has shown himself to us. He comes unlooked for and in answered prayer, comes to the mystic, most mysterious, comes to the addict in their last despair. He fed 5,000 in the wilderness, and now in bread and wine he comes and feeds uncounted millions. Once he bore one cross, but now he bears all crosses, meets all needs. The stone flung back at Easter means we share the widening ripples of his presence here. I wanted to finish with that image of widening ripples because it's how it seems to me. I lost my faith as a young teenager, but I came back to it in my early 20s. And it means more to me now than it meant 40 years ago when I returned to it. You know, for more than 40 years ago. It gets bigger, it grows wider, it has more implications. It makes me see more and more things in a new light. So anyway, we're often reading other things, and I have friends who share my faith and friends who don't share my faith and friends of other faiths, and I think we can all be with one another. But this is one of the great days of my particular faith, so it seemed to me as a friend I could just share a little of that with you, and also, you know, share with you my pleasure that these poems I write in my little writing hut find their way out there, and I hear from people around the world who found them helpful and encouraging, and that, of course, is helpful and encouraging to me. Anyway, happy Easter. Thanks for calling round.